Welcome back to Visual Reasoning for Pro AV, module number 7. We are finally going over the Agentic AI building tools. These are how I created all of the visual reasoning tools on the GitHub. It's how I created the smartphone app. I am not a computer programmer. So if that says anything to you, I really think you can do this too, especially starting with open source projects like the visual reasoning projects that we have and customizing them with simple English prompts. So we can use the English language. We don't need to be computer programmers anymore to develop integrated tools. It's game changer. Who would have thought this 5 or 10 years ago? Totally incredible. By the end of this module, you're going to learn what a harness is, and we have a visual reasoning harness that you can use for your projects. Really, really cool technology that peer-reviewed papers from some of the top AI companies are saying these AI harnesses are key to providing context for these intelligent workflows, and we can build one just for AV. And it really just for your business so that the AI truly knows the inputs and outputs that you're looking for so that you get better results. And so that's exciting. We're going to understand the 3 core abstractions. We're going to use configuration over code, right? So we're thinking about the end result. What does the customer actually need? Thinking about the goals over how we're going to code it, because we'll just let the AI decide how the code's going to work. And you're going to learn how to work efficiently with agentic coding tools. And we're going to build production-ready visual reasoning systems. One of the problems with just coding with AI is that you need standardization. You need to be able to make sure that it works every time with your team, the APIs that you want to use, with the products that you want to use. And that's what a harness does. And so we're going to help you kind of figure out, how do we connect a vision model to this? How do we handle errors? And where do I put all of the configuration? Well, the research says that the infrastructure matters just as much as the model being the AI model that we're going to be using. And so harnesses, the idea of a harness is, let's provide, it's basically context. It's literally just a markdown file, meaning it's just plain English. You can write out, this is what visual reasoning is. This is what we're trying to accomplish. I want you to use PTZOptics cameras. I want you to use vMix software. I want you to use Crestron programming protocols. I want you to always have a support number that goes back to my company. All of these things you can provide up front so that the agents are always working within that framework that you define. And so some of the early results from Epic AI say that the harness design can improve overall performance by 20%. OpenAI is saying that the same model with a better scaffold, which is just another word for a harness, can get you up to 2x. And AI agents start to degrade over time, meaning you give them a goal, they start to go execute it, but then they start to get lost. And that's going to improve over time. But these harnesses allow them to keep them on target so that you could literally, the dream is, right? Like, you're at work, you're figuring out what you want to do, and you let these agents go. You come back the next morning and the task is complete. You can really let them go for long periods of time if you provide them a framework that standardizes what they can build around. So the framework that you're building are, kind of giving them those reusable components for common tasks. As I said, what are the APIs? What is the hardware that we're working with? That's not going to change, right? Like, what are your goals as a company? What is the end result that's consistent pattern across all of your projects so that you can have this Pro AV harness? We're going to give you one. You're going to see the visual reasoning harness in the GitHub that you can use over and over again. It's a good starting point. It has custom logic that we feel is really good for Pro AV. And it really works with this pipeline that we've been talking about, meaning let's give the AI agents, our coding agents, a really strong understanding of what is the audio-visual pipeline and how are they going to use it, so they don't have to rewrite this every time and kind of come up with the kind of really difficult business logic, right? That's the hard part. That's our job as humans, right? As the architects, it's our job to come up with the business logic. And this is our 5-stage pipeline that we've talked about in this course already. We're going to have media inputs, right? It might be a webcam. It might be an IP video feed. It might be NDI. And then we're going to use that with specific pluggable modules. And, Moondream is one we've talked about. OCR is optical character recognition. These might change. Moondream is a very popular AI model today. Those new models are going to probably be better. Maybe Moondream will have a new one. So keep in mind, the models may change, but this pipeline is the same. And so when you deploy a harness and you're giving the AI this harness, this framework to work inside, you may need to update it over time. You might be using Moondream today. You might be using something else tomorrow. But there's always going to be this kind of pipeline in these harnesses where, okay, we have a layer of reasoning. This is when we need to use that media and really kind of reason with it. And then we're going to make decisions. And we're going to show them, we're going to have what we were calling guardrails, right? Don't make any decisions unless you're 100% confident or 90% confident. Don't make too many decisions at the same time. We're going to have cooldown meshes and smoothing. And then finally, what's the control pipeline? That's often, very well defined, right? We're going to control the PTZ camera, and kind of explaining this pipeline in your harness makes a lot of sense because you can tweak it and change it over time, but that way the AI isn't reinventing the wheel in a way that maybe you weren't intending. So it's going to save you a lot of money and time and money. It's also going to make your projects much more efficient. So the core architecture here, as we discussed, we've got inputs, we've got the models that we're using to generate that intelligent kind of automation, and then the outputs. What are we going to do with the AI? And that's kind of the core architecture here that you can encapsulate in your harness. Again, it's just a marked out file. It's literally just a file inside of your project that you've instructed your AI agents to reference as a reference point as part of the context with every prompt that you give it. So as we mentioned, some of the peer-reviewed research is saying that it's 20% better. We already talked about this in the last slide. AI agents work much better with this. So what does that mean to us? That means we need to start with the end in mind. We don't need to worry so much about how to achieve the goals. We just need to think about the framework and what are we really trying to do in the end, right? So we're staging the environment. You're explaining high-level goals. This is what I want you to achieve within this framework so that everything works when we get it at the end. So you're no longer getting bogged down with coding. You no longer have to be a coder. You can build a framework that's really awesome. And in our test environments, we talked about the virtual webcam where we talked about how you can take video files and so there's a human element to this, right? Like the AI is not going to be able to set up OBS for you for your test environment. We've given you a lot of tips and tricks and tools in this course so that you can provide it with, if it's a webcam, one of the reasons why I wanted to include this slide is, let's say you're building a visual reasoning tool for sports and you want it to be able to take a picture every time there's a touchdown. Well, you probably, in order to test that, you're going to need to have a webcam input with someone scoring a touchdown. Well, you might be at your home or in your office and there's nobody with a live camera scoring a touchdown right now. Well, you can take a video file, put it into OBS, run a virtual webcam and simulate that so that you can test these environments. So we still have a very important role for testing, instructing, and creating the goals here. And what we're going to do today for our hands-on demo is I'm going to show you how to download the entire GitHub project with your Agentic coding tool. It's all available at github.com/streamgeek/visual-reasoning-playground. And we're going to use Cursor, which is just one of many AI agentic tools. You might want to use the new one from Amazon. It's called Kiro. It's really, really good. It does a great job with context files and harnesses. But it's up to you to determine all of that stuff. And so let's jump right into it. So I've got Cursor open here, and it looks like a lot of code, okay? But I want to kind of break this down for you. The centerpiece here is the just plain language text. And I have a piece of this project here. Now I want to go to Visual Reasoning Playground really quickly to look at this because I want you to see a couple things about GitHub and then a couple things about agentic coding so that when you guys jump off onto this course, you can start to do some awesome things. So first of all, one of the things you can do is you can fork the project. Of course, you have to be logged in, so I'm not going to do that right now. But you can fork the project. I hope that you star it so it's saved for you. But you can fork this entire project, and then you can also make contributions to this project. So if you've got cool ideas, use the GitHub. There's instructions on making contributions, And this is all open source, so please feel free to change anything. You'll see the very first folder is the visual reasoning harness. So take a look at that, see where we've left off. It's going to change and evolve over time, but you can make contributions to it and you can use it in your projects. Now, one of the tools that we haven't looked a lot at yet in this course is the framing assistant. So I wanted to open this tool, and you can see here that there's a camera kind of zoomed into our brand new red camera. I'm going to zoom it out a little bit here. And one of the things that I am noticing right now is that I don't like where these manual PTZ controls are because I can't really see the video. It's too far down. So it's a perfect example of using an agentic coding system to rearrange this without having to do any code or touch anything. So I'm going to ask Cursor to move these manual PTZ controls to underneath the video. It's just a better spot. Or quite frankly, maybe actually above this camera setup area. Because we just need to rearrange this to make it look better. So let's go to Cursor. And I'm just going to say I am using the PTZ framing assistant. And I noticed that I would like the manual PTZ camera control tools to be at the top of the sidebar so I can use them when I see viewing the video. Boom. That's all I got to do. So again, we're just using plain English here, and we are asking it to change things. So looks like I got a bad request there. Let's try this again. Okay. So now you can see it's actually going ahead and moving the manual PTZ control section on the top of the sidebar. You can kind of watch it work here. And it's planning some next moves, adding some small styling, and within a matter of seconds here, it's done. Summary of changes. Okay, it says it's done. Is it really? Well, we're going to have to refresh this. And boom, the manual controls are at the top. I don't know if you guys have seen this tool, by the way. I got to go ahead and connect here. It's actually, I don't think we've used this tool yet. So I want to just show this here. I had it actually zooming into the PTZ letters, and I thought that was really cool. So I want to do this again. You can sort of see in the top right there, there's some PTZ letters. So I'm going to go ahead and say, hey, I want you to zoom into these PTZ letters and auto frame that. And so we can watch it do this. Now, another thing I'm noticing is look at these steps, so robotic. It's okay for framing, but man, I need that to be more smooth. Ultimately, it does do a decent job of centering the PTZ letters. I mean, dead zone's a little too big, and I want it to be a little better. So how do I do that? Since I'm not a computer programmer, I need to use Cursor. So I'm just going to say, so the auto framing is a little robotic. Can we make it move more smoothly? Diagonal moves. That will be an option for doing some diagonal moves, which I like. Because we want it to be better, right? And so now it's just going in, it's looking at, it knows exactly what to do. It's gone right to the PTZ controller JavaScript, and it's looking at it going, okay, how can we make this better? I need to, and this is complicated stuff. This would take a really well-versed computer engineer to understand how it's working, how the JavaScript loops are going, and how can we make this more, panning and tilting simultaneously. So while this is working, I'm just going to go back to this tool here. I also think that this dead zone is too big. I'm going to make it smaller. See that? The dead zone, so once it gets into the dead zone, it stops moving. Another thing that I've noticed with PTZ camera control is instead of having it completely stop in the dead zone, you can just slow it down a lot. So it still centers within the dead zone, but just moves much slower, so it doesn't overshoot. So these are the types of things you can kind of bug test. Oh my gosh, it's already done. When the object gets into the dead zone, instead of stopping movement, let's just make micro adjustments and much slower movements to center into a smaller internal dead zone. Now, sometimes I'll say when you're asking things like this to the AI, it can sometimes say, okay, I think I understand you, but I need you to answer some more questions. So I'll be interested to know if Cursor goes straight ahead with this change or says, what do you mean by smaller internal dead zone? It's adding an inner dead zone. It totally gets what I'm trying to tell it to do. It just blows my mind. It's such an incredible time to be alive because there's customers out there that want this type of functionality, but just simply don't know how to do this, and you can be their expert. Now, one more thing, if we just go back to this code, I want to explain one more thing here before we move on. No matter what agentic coding system you're using, it tracks the changes, and you want to commit those to GitHub. So when you fork this project and you start to make changes, GitHub becomes a great tool for tracking everything that is going on. So really, really powerful. Just keep an eye on that. That's why I'm saying 14 changes have been made since the last commit to GitHub. Committing to GitHub is a really important thing. So that brings us to the key takeaways, which you no longer have to be a computer programmer to make these types of apps. You can focus on what you want to build. You're the project manager now. Might be the bug tester too, but you're not the computer programmer anymore. Just continue to test, continue to experiment, leverage open source starting points, right? Like the visual reasoning course. There's so many great open source projects that you can customize for your next Pro AV and broadcast course. So congratulations on completing this course. Is there a module 8? I don't know. There very well might be, but this is where we are leaving this course at this point. Take a look at the book. It goes into these things in much more detail, and check out the iOS and Android apps so that you can have the power of visual reasoning right in your pocket. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video, and it really means a lot. Hit me up at paul@PTZOptics.com if you have any ideas or questions. Love to hear from you. Take care. Bye.